Hello, this is Clem here. Today I'm going to be talking about my green screen, sort of how I get it set up, and sort of the ins and outs of using green screens from my personal experience, and you can see if they're worth your while, and sort of how, if you wish to set one up or get one yourself. So first, there's sort of the setup. Now I'm not going to go through stage by stage, but I will show sort of a time-lapse footage of me setting this green screen up so you can see. Okay, so there we go. I've set it all up. First of all, just let me talk about the pieces of equipment individually. So in the bag and everything that comes with it, it cost me about $100. So everything in the bag came with it, except from this and this. So this right here is, well, it's a standard tripod. It's about a meter long for those of you who can't don't have measure vision. And then I also got this. Now what this does is it attaches onto the top of this and works very well with, say, an iPhone or a Samsung phone. Just sticks it right in there and it would pinch between that and it holds your phone really well. Now for the original videos that I did before, what I had to do was, quite interestingly, I had to get this, stick it at an angle and just duct tape my iPad around it, because my phone has not been working for me at all recently. So hopefully that'll change soon. So that's sort of the tripod in a matter of words. So I can move on to the umbrellas. Now, I don't know who decided it was a good idea to invent these umbrellas, but here they are. It's quite insane thing, right? Put an umbrella in front of a bulb to try and make the room brighter as a whole. But here's the bulb here, as you can see. So I'll sort of give you an example, because a lot of people were worried, like, oh, why don't I just buy the green screen, for instance? Because this pack costs $100, that's quite expensive. Why don't I just try and buy the green screen or get like a green piece of fabric and try and chuck some lights on it? Well, I'll show you the difference, alright? So I'll show you the difference using just some regular lights as opposed to using these actual lights. You've got sort of just a regular light and how that affects the wall. Sort of gives you that sort of vibe. It just makes this portion bright and keeps everything the same. Now when using green screening, color is very important. You want to try and keep this as straight as possible, try and iron it out if you can, to make sure that it can stay the same consistency of green, because how green screen work is they block out everything that's green. Also very important is not to wear any, here's a Irish football shirt, but don't wear any green. Even if it's dark like this, I recommend staying away from the color green entirely, because it saves you so much when you go to editing, and then you have to mess around with how much green you want to delete, and then your entire shirt goes away. As I figured out, I had a girl shirt on, and it just ripped away my whole shirt, so I just looked like I was a normal person with a hole in me. So that wasn't very good. Now, as for the difference between those and lights before, which you showed, it was just standing on a particular place. But with I use the umbrellas, for instance, so there's no light in this room other than what coming from that window. You can see how the light level in the room is trying to stay more consistent rather than being bright in one area and dark in another. So how to set this sort of thing up is, what you basically have to do is they also rely on the same system of, they fold out, they're weird things. They get folded up like this when I originally had them, and then this comes together. You sort of have to pop them all individually out and then keep going. And I thought it stopped there, but it actually goes all the way down to there. Oh, I just hit my umbrella against the ceiling. So that's sort of a brief thing on green screen there for you. I also did have some questions which I wrote down. I'd also like to talk for a second about Dashi, who was very nice enough to give me sort of a shout out.
A guy named Clem.
It was very nice, and I'm very thankful for you sort of greeting me for coming back. I really appreciate that. What is your favorite show? Invader Zone.
I don't like it. Take out the gunners while I talk.
Why is it my favorite show? I think it's just because it's a little bit demonic, but it's sort of happy with itself. The way it presents the world, I think, is sort of timeless, and I really like that sort of the vibe it has. It's kind of emo, but it's not really, which I feel is like me.
Hey guys, it's Connect. I thought I might want to pop in
and give a little my thought on green screens. I worked with green screens for a long time, and I thought it might be a good time for me to just pop in and add a few things to what Clem had already said, which he did a perfectly good job. There's just some other things that I thought I might explain as well. So how a green screen works, or how technically it's not a green screen we're talking about, it's how the effect in the video editing software, a color key, a chroma key, is basically you pick a color from your swatch, your eyedropper tool. You pick a color on the screen, and it takes out all the instances of that color, whether it be green or blue, whichever you have chosen. Usually it's green or blue. It's usually nothing else. That's because those two colors are the furthest away from any other color in the light spectrum. So that's why we use those. If we used red, well, there's a lot of red in lights, and we wear a lot of, there's a lot of red in our skin, we might see through, because what the software does is to key out more of the color, you have to turn up the tolerance, which is basically a fancy word for like how many other colors around the color you picked it can take. So if you don't have a very well lit green screen, which I hate to say it, but the green screen Clem used isn't very well lit up, and he did mention that. He did mention that you're supposed to pull it really tight so there's no seams or anything. That's because those seams, when light shines on those seams, they make shadows. So if it's not very taut, if it's not pulled very taut, and it's not evenly lit to where it's just one color, you're gonna have some trouble, because you're gonna have to turn your tolerance up, and turning your tolerance up also means degrading your image, which is something you don't want to do. So it's really good to light your green screen very evenly. Umbrella lights, they work okay. The umbrella, what it does is it diffuses the light, makes it softer, and makes it so that it doesn't have a really high intensity on your green screen. What I mean by that is, if you just put a regular light bulb against it, it's gonna shine so bright at the screen that it's just gonna light up one part really much brighter than the other. It's gonna make it super intense, and there's gonna be a little white and lighter light. You know what I mean? Like if I shined a really bright light at my face right now, it would get really, really shiny, and you'd see all the grease and all how ugly I am. Basically, by having the umbrella in front of the light, it diffuses the light, it makes it softer, and it also makes it spread on the green screen better. But since it's just one light bulb, it doesn't do a very powerful job at illuminating the whole thing evenly. So what I used to do is I used to go to Home Depot and buy fluorescent lights, the long tube lights, and I'd put them around my green screen. And you can see here too, this is my old setup, and that's what I used for the longest time, and I still use that same technique, as you might have seen in one of my recent Halloween vlogs. But a cloth I found hasn't worked too well for me. Fabric, what does work very well are those green towels at Walmart. Show Clem your support. I hope that did a good job explaining. Leave a like, leave a comment. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Bye.
No! Okay, so excuse me for a moment. I'm sure trolls will be nice enough to edit this part out. Hint, hint. I'm too lazy to fucking restart the camera every time.